What is your go-to never-fail joke? Story 1. A man walks into a bar. He goes up to the bartender and asks him if he likes to gamble. The bartender says, "Sure, I'll take a bet. What's your action?" The man offers a $50 bet that he can bite his own eyeball. The bartender, thinking it's easy money, accepts his bet and is shocked when the man removes his glass eye and bites down on it. Laughing, the man sees that the bartender is upset about losing his money, so he offers him a chance to win it back. Double or Nothing says, "I can bite my other eye." The bartender thinks it over. He knows he was just tricked out of $50, but he also knows that this man can't possibly have two glass eyes, so he pulls another $50 from the register and accepts the man's bet. The man promptly takes out his false teeth and gently closes them around his other eye. Now the bartender is visibly angry to have been had for $100, and the man's laughter isn't helping. Just before he throws him out of this bar, the man puts his hand up. "Real sorry about that, pal. I get people with that bit all the time, but you've been a good sport, so I'll give you another chance to win some cash. I've got $500 that says if you slide a shot glass down the bar top, I can run alongside it and pee into the glass without missing a drop. This is kind of hard for me to do, though, so I think it's fair if you give me 2 chances at it." The bartender, eager to win his money back from the man, thinks to himself and realizes just how hard it would be for this man to pee into a shot glass while running at full speed, especially knowing he only has one eye to line up his shot. After a minute of deliberation, he willingly accepts the bet. The man drops his pants to his ankles, and when the bartender puts the shot glass down on the counter, shouts a resounding "Go!", prompting the bartender to slide it along the bar top. The man chases after it, holding his dong at an angle to properly aim it. However, peeing while running at full speed isn't easy, so he only manages to get a couple of drops in the glass by the time it reaches the other end. Catching his breath, the man reminds the bartender he has a second try, and that the first was simply to get his bearings straight. Once again, he shouts, "Go!", giving the bartender his cue to send the shot glass back down the bar. Once again, the man chases wildly after it, spraying pee all over the bar top, stools, floor, and even hitting some of the bottles of liquor behind the bar. However, not one drop of urine found its way into the shot glass. Head hanging low, he hands the bartender $500, to which the bartender gleefully accepts, jumping up and down in joy and cheering in victory at the cash he had just made. All of a sudden, a man in the back of the bar slams his fist hard against his table and screams, "Frick!" at the top of his lungs. The bartender mutters aloud, "I wonder what his problem is." To which the man replies, "Oh, I just bet the guy $10,000 that I could pee all over your bar, and you'd be so happy about it you jumped up and down with joy." Story 2. 2 altar boys are fishing on a dock. One of the boys gets a bite and struggles to reel him in. When he finally gets the best of the fish, he snatches him up and proclaims to the other altar boy, "Look at this some witch." The other altar boy says, "You can't say that, you're an altar boy." To which he explains, "That's the name of the fish, some witch." "Wow, well, that is a big some witch. Let's go show it to the priest." The 2 boys run up to the priest, yelling, "Priest, look at this big some witch we caught." Priest, "You boys can't talk like that, you're altar boys." Altar boys, "Priest, that's the name of the fish, some witch." Priest, "Well, that is a nice some witch. Let's go catch some more of those some witches and show them to the cardinal." So the priest and the boys catch some more of those some witches and carry them to show the cardinal. "Cardinal, look at all these some witches we caught." Cardinal, "I should have all you excommunicated for language like that." Altar boys, "Well, that's the name of the fish, some witch." Cardinal, "I never in my life have seen such a fine bunch of some witches. Let's take them to the nuns and see if she'll cook up these some witches." So all the altar boys, the priest, and the cardinal go see the nun. "Nun, can you cook up these some witches for us?" Nun, "I ain't cooking nothing if you boys are going to talk like that." Altar boys, "Nun, that's the name of the fish, some witch." Nun, "Well, since you boys went through the trouble of catching all these some witches, I reckon I could fry these some witches up." That night the Pope is visiting town and sets down for supper with the altar boys, priest, cardinal, and nun. Altar boys, "I can't believe we caught all these some witches." Priest, "These are the best some witches I have ever eaten." Cardinal, "Nun, you cook these some witches just right." Nun, "I sure did. You boys got to catch some more of these some witches." The Pope looks around at everyone with a surprised look on his face. He cracks a grin and says, Y'all mother flippers are all right. Story 3. Dad is listening to his daughter say her prayers before bedtime. She says, God bless Mommy, and God bless Daddy, and God bless Grandma, and goodbye, Grandpa. He asks her, why did you say that? I don't know, I just felt like saying it. The next day, Grandpa passed away. Wow, thinks Dad, that's an odd coincidence. A month later at bedtime, the daughter says, God bless Mommy and Daddy, and goodbye, Grandma. Sure enough, the next day, Grandma breathes her last earthly breath. The dad realizes this is more than a coincidence, but he's not sure what to do. He doesn't want to disturb his wife by telling her Grandma and Grandpa were her parents. Months go by, and one night the man is listening to his daughter saying her prayers at bedtime. God bless Mommy. She turns her head and looks straight at him, and goodbye, Daddy. What? Are you sure, honey? She nods. The man's heart begins racing, and he breaks out in a sweat. He is so upset he can't sleep at all that night. The next day he goes off to work, but locks himself in his office. He takes the phone off the hook, cancels all his meetings, and awaits the inevitable. He stays at work past 5 because he feels secure there. He watches the hours tick by. Finally, it is midnight, and, drenched in sweat, he realizes he has cheated death. He drives home, drenched in sweat and with all his nerves frazzled. His wife is up and waiting for him. Where the heck were you today? He replies, Don't shout, I've had an absolutely miserable day. His wife then says, You had a miserable day. I'm the one who had a miserable day. First, the milkman drops dead on the steps. Story 4. Patty and Mick worked together in St. John's and both were laid off, so they went to the unemployment office. When asked his occupation, Patty answered, Panty stitcher. I sewed the elastic onto ladies' cotton panties and thongs. The clerk looked up panty stitchers on his computer and, finding it, classified as unskilled labor, gave him $80 a week unemployment pay. Mick was next, and when asked his occupation, replied, Diesel fitter. Since diesel fitter was a skilled job, the clerk gave Mick $160 a week. When Patty found out, he was furious. He stormed back into the office to find out why his friend and coworker was collecting double his pay. The clerk explained, Panty stitchers are unskilled, and diesel fitters are skilled labor. What skill? Yelled Patty. I sew the elastic on the panties and thongs. Mick puts them over his head and says, Yeah, diesel fitter. Story 5. A woman is walking home with her 3 daughters, Rose, Lily, and Cinderblock. Rose asks her mother, Mom, why did you name me Rose? To which her mother replies, Well, sweetie, when we were coming home from the hospital with you, a rose fell on your head. Lily, curious now, asks her mother, Mom, why did you name me after a flower too? To which her mother replies, Well, sweetie, when we were coming home from the hospital with you, a lily fell on your head. Cinderblock says to her mother, Story 6. A vacationing penguin is driving his car through Arizona when he notices that the oil pressure light is on. He gets out to look and sees oil dripping out of the motor. He drives to the nearest town and stops at the first gas station. After dropping the car off, the penguin goes for a walk around town. He sees an ice cream shop and, being a penguin in Arizona, decides that something cold would really hit the spot. He gets a big dish of ice cream and sits down to eat. Having no hands, he makes a real mess trying to eat with his flippers. After finishing his ice cream, he goes back to the gas station and asks the mechanic if he's found the problem. The mechanic looks up and says, It looks like you blew a seal. No, the penguin replies, It's just ice cream. Story 7. An old religious woman goes to a pet store to buy a parrot. Everything is fine until she brings it home. It begins to swear uncontrollably. F this, F that, F you, and finally the lady can't stand it no more. She grabs the bird, shoves it in the freezer, and slams the door shut. Squawking, shrieking, pounding, and cursing come out of the freezer for a few moments, and then it goes quiet. The woman is scared that she has hurt the bird and opens the freezer. The parrot walks calmly out and steps gently onto the woman's outstretched hand. He looks into the lady's eyes and says, Ma'am, I am truly sorry if my language offended you, and it will not recur. If I may ask, what did the chicken do? Story 8. A guy is in a doctor's office. His doctor is there with him. I have 2 pieces of bad news, the doctor says. What are they? Well, the first piece of news is that you have cancer. What's the second piece of news? He asks. Well, the second piece of bad news is that you have Alzheimer's. The man laughs and says, Well, at least I don't have cancer. Story 9. A man had been drinking at a bar all night and pukes down the front of his shirt. Shoot, I can't go home like this. My wife will kill me. The bartender sees this and says, put a $20 bill in your pocket, and when she sees the puke, tell her some drunk puked on you and gave you $20 for dry cleaning. So the guy goes home and his wife sees the puke on his shirt and asks what happened. To which he replies, a drunk guy puked on me and he gave me $20 to pay for dry cleaning. To which his wife says, okay, well then, why do you have $40 in your hand? Because he also pooped in my pants. Story 10. A Russian, a Frenchman, and an Englishman are in an art museum admiring a painting of Adam and Eve in the Gardens of Eden. The Englishman takes a look at the painting and says, they look so calm, they must be British. The Frenchman responded, no, they're naked, so beautiful, they must be French. The Russian says, they have no food, no shelter, nothing but an apple to eat, and they're being told this is paradise. They're clearly Russian. Story 11. A man is getting a checkup. Doctor, you have to stop touching yourself. Man, why? Doctor, because I'm trying to examine you. Story 12. I went to the doctor's recently. He said, don't eat anything fatty. I said, what, like bacon and burgers? He said, no, fatty, don't eat anything. Story 13. A cop pulls over a car with two priests. The cop makes his way up to the window and says, we're looking for two child molesters. The priests look at each other for a moment and turn back to the cop. We'll do it. Story 14. Two hobos were walking down the tracks. They encounter a mangy old dog sitting in the middle of the tracks, contorted into a weird position and licking his nuts. One hobo says wistfully, gee, I wish I could do that. His companion replies, well, maybe you should start by petting him first. Story 15. I think the Rainforest Cafe takes the whole Rainforest theme too far. This one time I was sitting there eating my chicken tenders, and they bulldozed 40% of the restaurant. Story 16. What do you get when you cross a mosquito with a mountain climber? Nothing. You can't cross a vector and a scalar. Story 17. I searched a list of 10 puns to find one that made me laugh. No pun in 10 did. Story 18. My dad asked me the other day, are you even listening to me? Which is a really weird way to start a conversation if you ask me. Story 19. To the person who stole my copy of Microsoft Office, I will find you. You have my word. Story 20. I arranged a threesome on the weekend and had 2 no-shows, but I still had fun. Click on one of the videos you see on the screen now, or a Karen will sue you.